Hi. Well, it's another beautiful day, and today I'm going to talk about a few things. Number one, what's keeping you from awakening? Well, most likely it's your suffering, okay? And not just what you might consider suffering that goes on outside of you, okay? But suffering that goes on inside of you. I know that's weird to think of it like that, but that's just the way it is. So, there are layers of suffering, just like there are layers of illusion and layers of attachments that you have to be free of before you can awaken. And these layers are very tricky, okay? For instance, let's say an event happened. You told yourself a story about it. Then other people told you a story about it, and then you told yourself and other people more stories about it. And it grows, it gets bigger. Okay, and that's how suffering works. And as this happens, as time goes on, it just gets rolled up into this huge thing that you can't deal with. Okay? And there are layers to it. Okay? And that's what you have to unravel. All the layers to your suffering. And all the layers to your personality. Okay? That you have to sort of look at. Okay? In the now. And that means accepting what is. That is the first step toward your spiritual journey. Okay? And that means seeing what is and accepting it. Okay? Now, I know that's kind of hard sometimes. We are taught to, not accept things, to make things better if we can, than they are, right? That's what we're taught. But that's not going to work for spiritual development. For spiritual development, you have to accept things as they are. I know it's hard to do that, okay? I mean, let's say you're living in a house and you put it out in the paper and a roommate moves in. And suddenly you realize you're not happy with this roommate. And so you want to kick that roommate out and find somebody better, right? Only problem is you kind of signed a lease with the roommate, so now you're stuck. And your unhappiness is part of it, is the story that you're telling yourself about what a crappy roommate this person is. Okay? And then you tell that to other people and they agree with you, okay? And so on and so forth. And all these things add up to you being unhappy. You have to accept what is. Accept the roommate. That's it. Okay? I know that's difficult to do, but that's something you have to do. And that's the same thing with yourself. You have to accept yourself. Okay? And not make what you want be the number one thing in your life. Okay? I mean, that's what we've been taught to do, is make what we want the number one thing. Okay? That's just the way it is. So, we have to let what we want go. Now, what that means is we have to accept that things are not the way we want them to be. I've taught you about aversion and attraction, about how wanting as opposed to not wanting things can put you into a trap. And you are in a trap because of those things. Wanting to be comfortable, wanting to be peaceful, wanting to be whatever. It's all part of the desire system. Okay? And so what you want, let's say that's a good education and a good job and a good living and so on and so forth. And you go out and you get all that. But then what happens? You come out of school and AI has taken over what you wanted to do. So now what you want is impossible. That's the way it is. Okay? And so you must accept that you can't have what you want. And as long as you continue complaining about it to yourself and to other people, you're just spreading suffering. Poor little me. I couldn't be this and that. Therefore, I'm just going to tell everybody what a terrible life this is. And so the suffering just spreads out. You're causing suffering to yourself, you're causing it to other people. Okay? And so all these layers are what makes you you. Okay? And like an onion, you have to peel them off. Okay? I know it's hard to peel the layers off, but you have to. If you want to be free, that is. You know? Anyway, so what we want to do is try and be honest with ourselves about what is. Okay? And not try to make it into something that it isn't. Like, if you lie. Oh, yeah, honey, I paid that bill. Oh, no, wait a minute, I didn't. Oh, wait, the rent's not paid. We're going to have to get out. Okay? We lie all the time. It's part of making things the way you want them to be. Okay? And that lying is another layer of you, which has to go. And what that means is you have to accept that that's not you anymore. You have to accept that you are honest. You are not a liar. I know lying is incredibly easy. It solves all your problems. Okay? And it's very hard not to do it. But you must. Okay? That's just the way it is. If you want to have peace, then the lying has to stop. Okay? That's just the way it is. Okay? And lying is just another layer of you that you have to get rid of. Okay? In order to awaken. All right? And we can go on and on. Okay? So the way you want things to be, okay, which is, like I said, a good education, a good job, so on and so forth, isn't necessarily going to be the way it is. Why is that so? Because the world is changing, okay? The world is constantly changing. It's impermanent. We think things are permanent. We think our house and our buildings and everything else is just going to last forever because that's what we think. And that includes ourselves. We think ourselves are going to be permanent. Okay? And that's why it's so hard to not accept that permanence. Okay? Because it's just not true. It's another lie. It's another layer of you that you have to let go of. You are not permanent. You are not the same person you were 20 years ago or 30 years ago or whatever it is. And you're not going to be the same person in 20 years or 30 years. Because every day is a new life. And every day that new life is you. You think it's part of this long track of time that you have been living. It's not. Okay? I know it's hard to see it that way, but that is how it is. Anyway, so try to understand that your life is not a continuous existence. I know it seems that's what it is. Okay? But it's not. Every day is a new day. Okay? Every day is another opportunity to live free of the trap. Okay, and you can do that very simply by accepting what is. You didn't get your coffee the right way, they didn't put the macchiato sauce in, or whatever it was. Accept it. Don't fight against it. Don't go back up to the counter and talk to the barista and say, hey, how come I didn't get the macchiato? It's not going to make any difference anyway. Okay? That's another thing. Taste, sight, smell, touch. It's not always going to be the way you want it to be. Okay? You have to accept that. You have to accept that you're not always going to have the right taste. You're not always going to have the same taste that you want to have. Okay? Because things are constantly changing. And you're not going to have the same smell. Okay? Lysol is going to discontinue that fragrance. Or whatever it is. Okay? These sense experiences, okay, aren't real. They're an illusion. Okay? That's just the way it is. You can think they're real all you want, and you can continue tasting the macchiato or whatever it is, okay, and think that that's important. But it's not. There's only one thing that's important, and that is being. I know it's hard to accept things the way they are sometimes, but that is what we have to do in order to move on with our life. Otherwise, you're stuck in a rut, and you can't get out of it. That's the way it is. And all these layers of illusions and attachments that you have, okay, have to go. Okay? That's just the way it is. Like your attachment to the time, your attachment to the future, your attachment to the past, your attachment to the permanence of things, and to the permanence of what was. We think that what was doesn't change. Well, it does. It does change because you change. How you remember things is going to change. It's not going to be permanent. That's the way it is. Okay? We see the world through all these blinders, okay? Which makes us see it a certain way. And that way is how we see the world, okay? And as you grow and change, which you should do, okay? It's not necessarily gonna be the way you thought it was. And the way you thought things were in the past, which you thought were cast in concrete, right? It's not that way either. And all these layers combine to keep you in the trap, to keep you in the dream. Okay? And what we need to do to break out of these layers is to accept that it's not that way. Okay? Your mind is programmed, okay, to be a certain way. Not by you, by everything, everyone. Okay? And your mind has been conditioned to accept that programming. Okay? And you will continue to accept it as long as you do. Okay? But it's a lie. It's not real. I know it's hard to see that, okay? But it is what it is, and it is what you are, okay? So, accept what is. Did you get your heart broken? You can suffer about it. Tell yourself a story about it. You can tell everyone else a story about it. And suffer over it. Yes, that is an option. Or you can accept it. Accept that that is what happened. Accept that you were hurt by it. Accept that your heart is a little bit less full than it was. Because that's what you have to do. Otherwise, you're going to continue reliving the same heartache that caused you to be unhappy in the first place. Okay? Every time the memory of that man or that woman comes up, and it's going to keep coming up as long as you don't accept it, as long as you continue to suffer over it, continue to tell yourself stories about how you got harmed and how much of a bastard that guy was. And I'm sure he was. Okay? You're going to just keep suffering. I know you've probably heard of karma, which is your suffering. Okay? It's what you need to do in this world. And you need to suffer. In order to wake up, we have to suffer, because you can't see the light unless you first felt the darkness. Okay? The light is meaningless without the darkness. Okay? And the darkness is your suffering. And it's another layer. Okay? So try and accept what is. Accept that there is darkness. Okay? The darkness of ignorance. The darkness of fear. The darkness of sadness. But if we can accept that darkness, if we just can accept it, then we can begin to see the light. I know it's difficult to see this way. I know a lot of people just say to themselves, I just keep meditating and everything will turn out okay. Which is fine. Plenty of people have meditated for 20, 30, 40 years without awakening. And it's a nice thing. It's very peaceful and it's good. But in order to awaken, you have to look at yourself. You have to study what you're doing, what you're feeling, how you're reacting to everything. And the best place to do that is in the now, without the judgments and without the layers. Okay? When you go into the now, the layers just sort of disappear. Okay? And you are one with now. There is no you that was heartbroken. There is no you that got beat up. None of that stuff is there. Just the now. And in that moment, you are being. And you can then turn and look at yourself and see what it is. And accept it. I also want to talk about meditation. Okay? Meditating is just single-pointedness of mind. One thing that you pay attention to. Could be a candle flame. Could be a word. Okay? That you don't know the meaning of. Because anything that you can think about, which is words, isn't meditation. Okay? And you just simply put your attention on that. If you're not doing that, if you're not putting all your attention onto one thing, then you're not going to get into the now. And that's what's important. Okay? And that one thing could be anything you want it to be. Okay? Everybody has their own path. Everybody has to find their own way. Maybe chanting works for you. Maybe in chanting you go into the now and you're chanting the Sanskrit word for God or whatever it is. And that helps you to get into the now and you can feel the now-ness of it. Or maybe a mantra, okay? Or maybe you can use your breath or the energy of your body, okay? Feel the energy of your body, which I know seems like it might be a hard thing to do, but you can do it, okay? By paying attention to your body. All these things are a way of pushing out the trap. Trap's gonna come back. The layers are gonna come back once you come out. But for that moment, okay, which could be hours long or whatever, you are free of that trap. You're free of the limitations. Okay? And you can see without judgment. See without all the layers what's going on with you. And accept it. And once you do that, then you'll transform whatever it is into spiritual energy, and that spirituality makes you feel more alive. I often say you're not living unless you're awakened, because you don't feel as alive, because you don't have the spiritual energy that makes you feel alive. You have just enough to live, okay? Just enough to be, just enough to exist, but not enough to really live. And the way to get that spiritual energy is by accepting what is. And as you're meditating, thoughts are going to come up, okay? And emotions. And you have to allow them. Just allow them. Don't follow them. Don't go after them. Just allow them. Let them be as they are. And they will fall. They'll fall away. And you go back to one pointedness of mind, back to the breath, back to the energy, back to the mantra. And look at what is. Just look at it. And look at what you have been suffering under. What illusions have you been suffering under? Whether it's the illusion of time or the illusion of separateness. Okay? Look at it. Feel it. Know that it is not true. These illusions are illusions. Okay? We think they're real. We think time is real. We think time has a beginning and an end. Okay? I mean, time started 13 billion years ago. And it's going to have an end. Okay? But that's just not the way it is. Time is only this moment. There is no future. There is no past. There is only this one moment. Okay? And either you can spend that moment in time, okay? Which is really, that moment is your whole life. We think of our life as being this long-lasting thing, but it's not. It's just a moment. Well, after you die, you're going to see how little you spent. I shouldn't say that. Anyway, the point is, when you have awakened, you can see how much time you have spent in useless nothingness. Because the stuff that we spend time doing is not real most of the time. It's a construct of our minds. Okay? And we are caught in that construct. And there is a way to get free of that construct, and that is to enter the now and to accept what is. Accept that you're living under layers. Accept that all these layers of time and illusions and layers of attachments are holding you down. Okay, right now you don't think that anything's holding you down, do you? You think that you're a free and easy person or whatever. Whatever you think doesn't matter. It matters. It matters. But what you be, that's what really matters. Okay? And being free is what really, really matters. And you can't get free until you can recognize that you are not a person. You are a soul. You are a piece of God. Just like everything that's alive on this planet and every planet in the universe. Okay? And yes, there are other planets in the universe, and yes, they have life on them. Anyway, so that's what it is. Okay? And that everything is you. As long as you continue to think that you're this someone, this person who has a certain type of personality and so on and so forth, which is just total bullshit. Okay? They use your personality to pigeonhole you. They use your name to tell you who you are. Job titles. It's all a way of control. It's a system of control. Okay? And as long as you're caught in the system of control, you have no control over your life. That's why it's a dream. I know it's hard to look at it that way, but that's the way it is. Okay? And that dream is part of who you think you are. That's not who you are. You are a soul. Now, I know you think you're not dreaming, and you're not, but perhaps maybe you're awake. But nonetheless, your soul is. Because that is who you are. I know it's hard to see that that's who you are. I know that's a difficult thing to try and understand how that is. Okay? But that is what you are. As long as you think you're this other thing that has a limited lifespan, and so on and so forth, then when that lifespan is over, you're going to go through a horrible death because you think you're dying. Okay? Which you're not, because you're a soul and you can't die. That's just the way it is. But having that horrible death is not going to do anything for you. Whereas if you are awakened and you see who you are, which is a soul, and that death doesn't mean anything, it's meaningless. Okay? And you get rid of the fear of death, and the fear of everything else that goes with it. Okay? And that's just what one benefit of awakening is. Okay? There are so many others. But knowing who you really are is incredibly freeing. Knowing that you are not a person with a name and a job title, and so on and so forth. Knowing that you are an immortal being, a piece of God. Now, maybe you don't believe in God, but you do believe in the universe, and the universe created yourself, your soul. Okay? The thing that makes you alive, whatever you want to call it. Okay? And that is what you are. Consciousness. You are consciousness. And that consciousness is what keeps you alive. And that consciousness cannot die. And in order to raise that consciousness, so you're no longer in a dream, you have to accept what is. That's all there is to it. As long as you are continuing to fight against the isness of your life, which most likely you are, even if you're on the spiritual path, you're still fighting. Because you still want things that will, right? You want them the way you want them, right? And if you don't get them that way, then what happens? You get interruption. You feel bad. Whatever it is. Okay? Or upset. That means you haven't accepted the way things are. And that's what you need to work on. I know it's hard to do that because it's hard to allow the world to be as it is. We want the world to be a certain way. We want our lives to be a certain way. But they're just not going to be that way. And as long as we're clutching and clinging to the way we want the world to be, we're going to be in suffering. We're going to be on the wheel of karma. And I know that's not where you want to be. So just try and see the layers of your suffering. It's there to be seen. In order to see it, you have to accept that you are suffering. Accept that the suffering exists. Once you have fully accepted it, then you can let it go. Well, the clock on the wall's telling me it's about time I gotta go. So, I love you all because you're me. You're a part of me. And I'm a part of you. There is no separation between us, and there is no separation between us and God. It's all one thing. And when you awaken and feel the people of the world, because that's what's going to happen, you're going to feel the people of the world, and you're going to feel that they're all there with you, and that they're all you. And when that happens, it's just, things are just going to open up. Well, please comment if you have any questions about anything I've said, or anything you want to say. And please share if you feel like it. These videos, I want to get them out to as many people as possible, so that we can awaken. And by all means, look at other spiritual teachers, okay, who've been this a lot longer than I have, like Ram Dass and Eckhart Tolle. Okay, I'm giving you what I have, which isn't necessarily everything there is. So by all means, branch out and look at what else is going on in the spiritual community, and become part of the spiritual community. We need to free each other, and we can do that by joining into a spiritual community, okay, which you can do through Eckhart Tolle or Ram Dass. Both of them have a way to join the spiritual community. I don't have that because I don't have a lot of viewers, but anyway, it doesn't really matter. All right, so have a great day and a great life.